Welcome to Game Recognized Game. How the poor can survive and thrive in a smart world. Welcome back. We're talking about the book We Overcame. I hope you liked the first episode. Today we're getting more into the next section. It's called entrepreneurship. That's where our focus will be. As many adults started their own small businesses that often started from within their own homes with the additional monthly income from UBI. Thanks to the internet and its focus on everyone being able to express themselves freely regardless of age, gender, or race, many created businesses dependent upon their own social relationships with others. Young people did not wait until they turned 16 to find their first job. Many had substantial income even before entering the 8th grade. Financial literacy and entrepreneurship were woven into the educational system from elementary to high school. All children received the rules, both the written and unwritten rules of capitalism and free market economics. They all understood Kanye West's rap song Good Life and went for theirs. And so to further illustrate what I'm talking about in this section of the book, I just wanted to start breaking things down. The coming tech economy, aka the fourth industrial revolution, is going to fundamentally change the dynamic of work over the next 2 decades. Technically, the tech economy is already here. Presently, it is very subtle, and the average person thinks the tech economy will feel like a sci-fi film. We presently are conscious of all the things. We presently are conscious of all of the things that we now take for granted but don't view as the coming tech economy. I guess we're unconscious, We are unconscious of all the things that we now take for granted but don't view as the coming tech economy. We bank online, we're buying groceries, furniture, and other items online. We are using phones to take pictures, make money, and build relationships with others. 73 million U.S. jobs could be eliminated by 2030. The pandemic is actually probably moving that a little faster, as many jobs are not going to come back as a result of this pandemic and and the situation of not being able to go out and freely shop and all of those kinds of things. And restaurants, even the airline industry may take a cut. I think the government won't let the airline industry die. However, I do think that a lot of small mom and pop restaurants, a lot of the retail will not be able to sustain themselves post-COVID. This will, so I said the pandemic may spread up that process a bit, as many companies will not survive this pandemic. This will require all of us to gain new skills and change our mindset to one that is much more adaptable and flexible. We must become lovers of learning regardless of socioeconomic level. As a matter of fact, poor people need to know that they will be the most impacted by this new economy, and many of us will not adapt. As you get older, change is harder. If you are dependent upon the socioeconomic level that you're at or were born into, you are less likely to change as well. Unfortunately, the more money you have, the more likely you are to take risk. The more comfortable you'll be with risk. Like Oprah could risk a whole bunch of things and she wouldn't blink an eye. Whereas if I take a chance and decide that I, want to jump out on faith and start my own business, that would take a lot of, thinking through things and making sure how would I pay my bills and all of those kinds of things. I couldn't leap into it. And in the book, I stress that really what the future of work for the average American is really doing a little bit of both. You're working, quote unquote, for the man, but you're also having your own side business. And I think that's fundamental. I don't think that anybody will be able to just work a straight 9 to 5 and pay all of their bills and things like that, with the idea that a lot of things are going to be outsourced, or technology will do it as opposed to a human doing it. So it will require, like I said, a lot of adaptability to new skills, being open to learning new skills, and not thinking that you will always find the job that you have right now. For example, I think they just recently published an article where one Walmart store is actually going cashierless, meaning that it's going to be self-service. Of course, there will be a few cashiers that are around to assist you, but for the most part, they're encouraging all of the self-checkout. Now, of course, they are giving people the option to say, hey, I want to go through a line. So I think they will always still kind of have a hybrid, but I did recently read that article. So it's really not optional to I guess, stay rigid and not be flexible. And then also just the whole notion of what is the definition of a job is going to change as a result of technology. So for example, we may not have normal 8 to 5 jobs, an 8-hour shift, 16-hour shift, a 12-hour shift. It may be much more, you might work 5 hours, 4 days a week, or, 4 hours, 3 days a week, and still make the same amount of money that you would have made in a 40-hour work week. So you're going to see a lot of those kinds of things where it's not this standard cookie cutter style that we have presently. And so that's why I keep pushing that whole notion of entrepreneurship. I think that we need to develop financial literacy, and financial literacy is not code word for just teaching somebody how to budget. It needs to start with an understanding, a fundamental understanding of what capitalism is. How does it work in our society? And I think that in order to make this capitalism work for everyone has to understand it. I think Andrew Yang is on to something when he says human centered capitalism, and instead of it being trickled down, it's a trickle up so that more people can participate. And I think once you understand the system, I think we can force the system to work for everyone. But having so many people not understand how the system works, I think it does create a disadvantage and cause a lot of people not to participate in it, not to understand it, and therefore think that it doesn't work for them. And fundamentally, it does not presently work for everyone. So I'm not in denial of that. But I think the way to make America do what it's supposed to do is to make sure everyone is participating in the system that we have now, so that it does work for everyone. We are never going to be a socialist country. I don't believe that we will be a socialist country. So this whole notion of scaring everybody to say, oh, well, if we do all of these things, this will cause us to be a socialist country. I don't believe that will happen. I think there's way too many capitalists in this country in positions of power that will not allow us to be a completely socialist country. I think that we will always be a capitalistic country with some socialistic principles or programs with a little bit of socialism, such as everything that is on the safety net presently is socialism. So having food stamps, having Medicaid, having WIC, having Social Security is all forms of socialism. They just don't call it that. But do understand that we are living in a society where there is a little bit of socialism. So when they try to scare you and say, hey, we're going to be completely socialistic, no, that's never going to happen. But I do think that we can, the more we participate in this economy and the more we educate ourselves on how the game is played, so that we don't get played nearly as much, and that we enforce these programs that are to our benefit, to make sure that they do work for everyone. So having the Affordable Care Act, making sure nobody is left out of having the opportunity to obtain health care is the way to go. So there is, I think that more people have to understand what's at stake so that then they get involved and they make the safety net be stronger. And I do ultimately believe that the safety net will need to be redesigned, and I think that we have to get evolved in order to make sure it works in a human um, capitalist, capitalistic system. So as I've said in the book, everyone will be a hustler, so to speak. So everyone is going to have a side hustle. The beautiful thing about the internet and this moment in time is that the internet has freed up the ability to be able to start stuff with little to no money. For example, if you wanted to start a t-shirt company, you could start a t-shirt company with Teespring with nothing out of pocket. You find a design that you want to put on there. If you can't design it, then yes, you may have to outsource the design of it with Fiverr or someone that you know is a good graphic designer. But fundamentally, you would make your design, you would price the t-shirt. It'll tell you how much you should price the t-shirt depending on what your goal is, how many you want to sell in order for it to be profitable. And if you don't meet that goal, well, then they don't publish the shirt. They don't ship it out or anything like that. And so you haven't lost anything. Now, I will say that even with that, you would want to, for example, the most successful people who do like a Teespring campaign do have to shell out a little bit of money doing like maybe Facebook ads, but you can control that cost. I just want to make sure everyone understands that the game changed. And so all of the things of saying I can't this and I can't that will not continue to hold weight. So being aware of that so that you can start imagining and start dreaming. That's one of the reasons why I wrote this book, is that I want to make sure it is common knowledge about these things so that we can get out of the habit of putting up walls that don't exist in our mind. I think that there is a lot of stifling our dreams, and it's unfortunate, but we stifle our dreams based upon our income levels. And so I just want to make sure, I just feel like with what I do on a daily basis, I know that there are a lot of folks who don't know that they can dream, and so they're not dreaming big. And so I wanted to open up that conversation to make sure everybody knows that they can dream big. There's a lot of folks who are starting their own bakeries and cooking, and they're doing wonderful ads on Facebook and getting business, and then some of them are able to turn it into an actual commercial business, and things like that. So start small, but try something. And then too, the internet has also changed the definition of when you can go to work. Fundamentally, there's a child that is probably one of the top earners on YouTube. His parents put him in front of toys and made him a toy reviewer even as a baby. And so, of course, when you're under 18, anytime you make income, it goes into a trust. So this child is set for life already, and is only 6 years old. And so knowing that there are no limitations as to when you can get started is also something that we want to encourage in our children. So if you're noticing something unique about your child, and there's always something unique about your children, like they have a talent, they make everybody laugh, maybe have them try something. Maybe try TikTok or try some other social media, but encourage that. Encourage their creativity. You never know, they might blow up, I guess is the right term, and encourage that. Definitely encourage that creativity. We're living in a totally different world than the one I grew up in. So there are no limitations to your child and where and how far they can go regardless of income level. And so I just want to keep reiterating that, and I hope that helps someone today. So definitely continue to follow us on Sow the Seed, and let us know what you think. And definitely there are a lot of coaches out there, business coaches, people that you can talk to say, hey, you know what, I heard what she said on Sow the Seed, and I want to go ahead and get started. So don't hesitate, send us an email. If you have questions, we can get you into the hands of some really great people to get you going.